Hey everybody, Jeff Oriyama here. For today's bad GraphQL take, we're going to take a look at a comment from an old Hacker News thread. I chose this comment because it got a lot of upvotes at the time, and it also represents some common talking points I hear from time to time out there. This take is from the user FC373745 on a thread about REST API design. Okay, here's what they write. Never understood the hype around GraphQL. Okay, so right away, GraphQL is in a very different place now than in 2021 when this comment was made. But the sentiment that GraphQL is the product of a hype cycle is not wrong. We're just further along that curve now. But GraphQL was a product of its time, and in the mid-2010s, it felt like we were discovering new and better ways to make applications like every half year or so. Very exciting time. You want to know how to have your performance and responses per second on your service? Add GraphQL. This is just unfalsifiable. GraphQL is just a spec. It doesn't speed up or slow down anything by itself. When I hear things like GraphQL is slow, I interpret that as a fundamental misunderstanding of the tech. Maybe your server is slow. There could be a million reasons why. But pinning it on GraphQL is an extraordinary claim, which requires extraordinary evidence, and there's none of that to be had here. All things that GraphQL claims to do can be implemented in RESTful services easily. If you want specificity in your query fetching, just add query params or put them in the request body. If you want schema validations, there are many libraries that help you with that. And if you want data from multiple resources from different endpoints, what exactly is stopping you from implementing that in REST? This is the heart of a lot of bad GraphQL takes. That everything you can do with GraphQL, you can do with another technology. And I think that this particular comment says precisely nothing of value. Everything that can be done in Rust, for example, can be done in C, or assembly for that matter. And I don't think anyone picks up GraphQL because they feel like they can't do field selection or can't do validation any other way. They pick it because GraphQL offers an open, interoperable standard for common API patterns. You're picking GraphQL because you don't want your team to spend its valuable time reinventing the wheel every time you have to do something like pagination. Also, today, you don't want to burn your token spend teaching your agent your homegrown implementations over and over again. Agents have GraphQL in their training data sets, so you get a lot of context efficiency just for free. To the last point, multiple resources from different endpoints. I mean, this is the classic GraphQL use case, right? It completely removes the need to either make multiple API calls from the front end to render a single view, or from an agent to satisfy a certain prompt, or to create like kind of these one-off experience API endpoints, which are not RESTful, by the way. Representing data relationships is at the heart of what GraphQL excels at, and is anathema to the notion of resource-based routing, one of the central tenets of REST. Also, GraphQL has a steeper learning curve as opposed to REST. First, I want to clear the air around something. I like REST, and I don't think it's a competitor to GraphQL. These are technologies that have a lot of overlap. I don't think you should ditch REST for GraphQL. I do think GraphQL offers a lot, though, and there are ways to transform REST endpoints into GraphQL data sources without having to write any GraphQL resolvers. So that option's available. But with that out of the way, that said, my hot take is that REST is actually a lot harder to learn than GraphQL. REST is, at its heart, an HTML technology. The idea of doing REST through a JSON API is not pure REST. There are compromises being made there. Almost every REST API I've worked in violates a rule of REST. One of the most common violations is using, for instance, the wrong HTTP verb for a given action, put versus patch, for example. But that's easy to do because there's no REST validation algorithm. Contrast that with GraphQL. If something's invalid, you'll get an error. And I think that's much more beginner-friendly and makes the tech easier to learn, not harder. Never understood GraphQL. To me, it's just an abstract layer between the front end and back end, adding to the already complex stack. This is 100% true. They don't understand GraphQL, and it is an abstraction, and it is additive. But if you're adding a lot of conditional logic to your endpoints, if you're loading data from multiple resources into a single response payload, if you're using a type schema, you're already using a cobbled together version of GraphQL anyway. You might as well go for the real thing. But that's just me. What do you think of this GraphQL take? Drop a comment and let me know. That's it for now. See you next time.